in the quarterly about the need for nonprofits to get involved in issues of taxation. It really is the basic budget setting of your government is done through its discussions about taxation. If you are not involved in those discussions, you're really dropping the ball. So it's not just about expenditures, it's about taxing policy that you really need to be involved in. So if M&A isn't already involved in that, I would really urge you to get involved. The article that we're about to publish is by Kim Klein, who was the editor of the Grassroots Fundraising Journal, which many of you may know. And at some point, she just realized, you know, talking about raising money in these numbers against the kind of reductions in state and federal budgets that we're seeing really kind of makes no sense. So she's been urging people to take on the issues of taxation. Was there one more person?
One comment and one question. Is this working?
Yeah.
We Montanans are not unfamiliar with the gap in funding, whether it was private philanthropy or federal dollars that goes to rural states. But the question is, and it goes back to the beginning of your talk, and budget cutbacks on the state level. Have you seen any efforts from the nonprofit sector beyond what already existed and private philanthropy develop alternative financing opportunities for nonprofits through revolving loan programs and the like?
Boy, is that a complicated question. There are.
Yeah, I know there's some that exist that have been any more response.
I would say this, that I think that nonprofit loan programs, CDFIs, have gotten a lot more profile. They've done their job really well during the recession, and it's been noted. But still, they're so undercapitalized that they're like a drop in a bucket. I think people should be pushing CDFIs, but I also think that there should be a much louder cry from the nonprofit sector about the disparity in funding for rural areas. I do want to say one more thing about this, just about because I actually had this in my notes, but I didn't talk about it. One of the very disturbing things that we've noticed at the quarterly as we've been doing the news wires is that a lot of the big national affiliate groups, the Easter Seals, the United Ways, the Boys and Girls Clubs, when they've been doing their regional, their regional mergers, very often, if those mergers involved a more highly populated area and a rural area, that the result of the mergers will be that the rural area ends up with much less resources. And there's been a little bit of outcry about that. In some cases, it's been kind of you have to interpret the situation, but in some cases, it's been very in your face. There's one story that I think it was Ohio, I'm not quite sure, but one story where a merger had apparently happened between a number of United Ways, but the rural United Way didn't know about it. And they turned up at their offices. They thought that they had developed a different kind of relationship. They turned up at their offices one morning and they were locked out. The office had been closed by a larger affiliate. So it's this bizarre situation, but when I was in Humboldt County, there's a situation up there with the Easter Seals, where they did a kind of a regional merger. Humboldt County is extraordinarily rural and isolated, and the merger ended up with the office of Easter Seals in San Francisco. Within probably months, they had closed the major, kind of a major facility for Easter Seals in that area, which was a hot therapeutic pool. The region was like, what's going on? What are you doing? Well, it was costing us too much. Well, why didn't you let us know? So it's these kind of slow-moving situations that are happening with some of those situations as well. So I actually think that this rural-urban divide is going to get a little bit worse before it gets better, and that people really need to be naming it constantly. We actually checked to see if the Rural Philanthropy Initiative had an effect of creating more money for rural areas, and actually the amount of money that was flowing into rural areas from philanthropy went down after the initiative was announced. So.
Ruth, you were talking about your NPQ newswire. If I wanted to sign up for that, how do I do that? Because it really sounded great. Share, how do I sign up for that?
Okay, I know that most, 100 of you will be getting free subscriptions to the course. The rest of you should not despair. I honestly believe that a good deal of our value is free for the asking online. I shouldn't tell you this. But you just go to nonprofitquarterly.org, sign up for that newswire. It's a good read there. We have a lot of people who say it's like my first read of the morning. I love it. It'll keep you abreast. You read what you want, leave the rest. And I do want to say again that we would love to have some of you writing some of those newswires and writing some other material for the quarterly. So thank you very much, and I've been